Hey folks, welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. And huge news out of the Supreme Court from the Daily Mail. Supreme Court outlaws race as a factor in college admissions and major affirmative action ruling. Justices vote 6-3 to rule Harvard and UNC programs unconstitutional. Folks, I don't know how you feel about this. Me personally, hey, look, if we're supposed to live in a world where everyone is treated equally and viewed equally, okay, then under that precipice, we're all just the same. So if we're trying to get into something or get approved or get acknowledged, if race isn't supposed to matter, then it shouldn't be on the form to begin with. In other words, get rid of the box. There should be one box. It simply says American, and you leave it at that. But hey, I guess not everyone thinks like me, and certainly not the wokesters who are the real racists and have been pushing this for decades. So let's get into this. So the Supreme Court has banned colleges from using race as a factor when admitting students in a landmark ruling in affirmative action Thursday. The justices decided in a 6-3 opinion that Harvard University and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill race-based affirmative action admissions policies are unconstitutional. Now, I don't know why it's taken this long for this to actually happen, but if you have a rule that or a process that literally uses race in some form or another to, focus more on one than others, that's racist. I don't know how people don't understand this. I don't know how people get it wrong. But yeah, that's literally just racist, because you're literally saying because of the color of someone's skin, we're going to treat them differently. Like, I thought we were over this, but hey, these are the policies that Democrats have had for years. The ruling ends the decades-old affirmative action policy that was designed to boost the number of Black and Hispanic students in colleges. Now universities will have to look to new ways to better incorporate minority groups and ensure representation among student bodies. It's not on the college to ensure any representation. People just show up. Like, hey, I want an education. Cool, get in there. You got a pencil? Get it. Like, why is it on schools? That's got nothing to do with their education. Because Harvard's and UNC's admissions programs lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints, those admissions programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantees of the Equal Protection Clause, states the majority opinion written by Chief Justice John Roberts. Now, something a lot of people probably aren't aware of, because of affirmative action, it's actually made it even harder for Asian Americans to get in. And they've been able to show this in court. They have to score basically like 200 points higher in order to be qualified. Why? Because when you prioritize one person and someone else gets stuck with the bill, well, all that's going to do is keep passing it down the line, and then everyone's going to have to pay. Roberts added that for too long, colleges within the United States have concluded wrongly that the touchstone of an individual's identity is not challenges bested, skills built, or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. Our constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. Hell yeah. Roberts was joined in the majority opinion by Republican-appointed Justices Amy Coney Barrett, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. The court's liberal justices Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, and Alita Kagan dissented. Go figure, right? The universities were sued by Students for Fair Admissions, a conservative nonprofit group, over their race-based admissions policies in 2014, saying they violated Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The cases made their way through the lower courts, which ruled on the side of Harvard and UNC before reaching the Supreme Court for oral arguments last year. Specifically, Harvard was accused of violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, a landmark piece of legislation first proposed by John F. Kennedy that sought to outlaw racial discrimination. Title VI prohibits discrimination of the basis of race, color, or natural origin in any program or activity that receives federal funds or other federal financial assistance. The case argued that Asian American students, like I just said, specifically have been illegally disadvantaged by affirmative action policies because despite achieving high grades, they score lower on Harvard's vague personal rating scale, particularly on likability ratings and positive personality compared to other applicants. And listen to that. Personal rating scale, likability ratings, positive. These are all subjective. None of these are objective things that you can truly measure. These are just opinions that somebody else has about you. And that's part of their admission. It's a joke. The UNC case also looked like what the university could factor into admissions practices without the use of race and how it would impact diversity on campus. Both Harvard and UNC have maintained that their use of race in admissions does not discriminate against Asian Americans. Well, like I said, if we're supposed to be one people, if we're supposed to be Americans, and if race isn't supposed to matter, just get it off the paper to begin with. Justice Thomas, who was the second black justice appointed in history, called race-based admissions rudderless and designed to ensure a particularly racial mix in their entering classrooms. And that's really what it is. Like, they just want everybody, they want it to look a certain way. They want it to look a certain way. Never mind what you're actually doing or the consequences or ramifications, so long as everything just looks okay. Like, people grow up. He went on in his concurring opinion, which he read from the bench in a rare move, to state plainly that despite being painfully aware of discrimination against other individuals of his race, he has hope that all Americans will be treated equally under the law. While I am painfully aware of the social and economic ravages which have befallen my race and all who suffer discrimination, I hold out enduring hope that this country will live up to its principles so clearly enunciated in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, that all men are created equal, are equal citizens, and must be treated equally before the law, Thomas wrote. However, Democrat-appointed Justice Sotomayor said in a written dissent that the decision rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress. Really, momentous progress of pushing forth racist laws? Like, you can't say, I want everyone to be treated the same. Oh, but we need special provisions for certain people based solely on how they look and not anything that they've ever done. Like, you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. The court cements a superficial rule of colorblindness as a constitutional principle in an endemically segregated society, she continued. And that's the thing. All of these Democrats, like, they're the real racists. They believe in race. They believe that just because the color of your skin is different, you're literally a different race. Never mind the fact that everyone is, in fact, Homo sapien and one race, not separate. They keep pushing this. Why? Because it gives them something to save people over so they can be the hero and get votes. In a separate dissent, the nation's first female black justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, said the 6-3 decision is a tragedy for us all. Gulf-sized race-based gaps exist with respect to the health, wealth, and well-being of American citizens. They were created in the distant past, but have indisputably been passed down to the present day through the generations, she wrote. Jackson had recused herself from the Harvard case due to her former position on the board of the university. In a footnote, Roberts wrote that the military academies are exempt from Thursday's ruling due to their potentially distinct interests. There had been discussion about the role that the Pentagon had to ensure diversity within its ranks and file troops as reflected, which would impact readiness and also discipline among ranks. Now, I'm sorry, that makes no sense to me. Like, if you're not going to have it in the civil aspect because you can show that it's wrong and stupid, why would that not be the same for the military? If we're treating everybody the same, if we're going off objectively measurable skills and abilities, then why do you need that? Makes no sense to me. She stated, the court has come to rest on the bottom line conclusion that racial diversity in higher education is only worth potentially preserving insofar as it might be needed to prepare Black Americans and other underrepresented minorities for success in the bunker, not the boardroom, a particularly awkward place to land in the light of the history the major opts to ignore. Whew, man, I guess that's a 1,200-page document. Whew, man, I am not reading through all that. Plenty of people pissed off one way or the other. Edward Blum, who is behind Students for Fair Admission, said in a statement Thursday that the vast majority of Americans should celebrate the decision. I agree. A university doesn't have real diversity when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds and act, talk, and think alike, added Blum. A flurry of reactions started to unfold Thursday following the court's decision. And I say this all the time. When they say inclusive, no, what they mean is exclusive. It means you need to think like our ideology. No, you can't be Christian. No, you can't be Catholic. No, you can't be independent. No, you can't be something else. No, you have to be DEI. You have to be diversity and inclusive and all of this because we're right and you're wrong. So you have to think like us. Like, yeah, for years now, they've been forcing people down this path. You have to think like us, and everybody else is different, no matter your argument, whether it makes sense or not. A flurry of reactions started to unfold Thursday following the court's decision. Former Vice President Mike Pence cheered the ruling, saying there is no place for discrimination based on race in the United States, and I am pleased that the Supreme Court has put an end to this egregious violation of civil and constitutional rights and admissions processes, which only serve to perpetuate racism. I agree. I am honored to have played a role in appointing 3 of the justices that ensure today's welcome decision, and as president, I will continue to appoint judges who will strictly apply the law rather than twisting to serve woke and progressive ends. His fellow 2024 presidential hopeful Nikki Haley added that this decision will help every student, no matter their background, have a better opportunity to achieve the American dream. However, Democrats struck a much more somber tone, calling it a setback for racial justice. No, it's going to be a setback for all of your progressive woke policies. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Thursday the Supreme Court ruling has put a giant roadblock in our country's march towards racial justice. The consequences of this decision will be felt immediately and across the country as students of color will face an admission cycle next year with fewer opportunities. I can't stand Chuck Schumer. That lying sack of shit is just worthless through and through. Like your march towards racial, you know how when they talk about racial justice, they never tell you like what's the end goal. Like at one point are we like, hey, we won, we're done, we can end the march towards racial justice. You know what I'm saying? Like when they've never defined that, which means the march just goes on forever. So we're always going to have victims and we're always going to need to be the hero and we're always going to need to help you. Like if you give no objective goal or endpoint or concrete, like, hey, if we do this, we're like, we made it, then all you're doing is perpetuating whatever it is that you're talking about forever. A group of 82 Republican lawmakers led by Senator Ted Cruz of Texas and Michelle Steele submitted an amicus brief in the case. They wrote that Harvard and UNC's admissions policies intentionally divide applicants by race, which they do, and inflict a heavy toll on Asian American students, which they also do. Data published on the National Center for Education Statistics, NCES, shows a mixed picture when it comes to diversity in U.S. colleges nationwide. In 2021, the last year for which figures are available, 60% of Asians between the ages of 20 and 18 and 24 were enrolled in college compared to 38% of whites per the same age. The figure is 37% for Black youth, 33% for Hispanics, and as low as 28% for students who describe themselves as American Indians, according to NCES. 9 states have already made it illegal for admissions professors to consider race in college applications. Arizona, California, Florida, Idaho, Michigan, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, and Washington. And with that, folks, hey, I'm going to say this is a success. This is a good ruling. It is a racist rule. Now, maybe it was intended differently in the beginning in good heart. You know, that's totally possible. But literally, any law that you have that picks someone out according to color, if it's literally written in the books, yeah, that is a racist law and is a violation of all of our biggest laws. And only one side has been pushing this stuff for years. Why? Because Democrats need victims. Because without being there to save the day and rescue you from your own stupidity, they got nothing. They got nothing to offer people mostly. Like, unless they're giving you something, or by the way, the stuff that you need, making you basically tied to them. Like, they got nothing else. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to be on your own. Why? Because then you really don't need them. And if that happens, well, then they're out of a job. But with that, folks, I'm going to wish you a good day. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. I'm going to try to bring you some new stuff as soon as I can. And with that said, hey, folks, if you enjoy my content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share. I really appreciate it. And thanks a lot, folks. So, hey, take care, and I'll see you next time.